Hey everyone, I'm Kate Kennedy and I'm here with day 91 of 100 Days of Kane, PA. And a few of you had requested stories about Wildcat Park. Now Wildcat Park's in Ludlow, which is just a few miles outside of Kane and part of the Kane School District, and a park that we have all been to and have all enjoyed, whether it was a picnic, the Ludlow Days Festival, and it is a piece of us. So we thought we'd go ahead and talk to some people today about their stories of Wildcat Park. So today we're talking with Clarion Buckley and Craig Oakes, and they're going to share some history stories as well as some of their own personal memories and stories of Wildcat Park. So go ahead and flip you around. We'll walk up. It's a beautiful day. Hello, you guys.
Hi, Kate.
How are ya?
We're good.
Good.
Good. All right. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for taking time to talk with us. We'll go ahead and start with you, Clarion. So, where were you born and raised? Where'd you grow up?
I was born and raised in Ludlow. I actually was born in Kane, but lived in Ludlow all my life, except for about 3.5 years in Kane for a little bit. And went to school in Kane and graduated in 1971.
So but you were talking earlier, and you went to elementary school right here in Ludlow.
Yes, we had an elementary school then. I think it closed, the elementary school closed 73, 74, something like that. I was working at the school district for Paul Miller at the time, and it was not long after I graduated.
Okay, so you spent your whole elementary career here in Ludlow, went to junior and senior high in Kane.
Yes, but it was part of the Kane School District.
Right, okay, and then after you graduated, what year did you say you graduated?
71.
Okay, and then what did you do next?
I took one day off, and then I went to work for Paul Miller, was superintendent of schools, and I went to work as a clerk in his office.
Wow, and then were you always in the superintendent's office?
No, I stayed there till I think I worked 4.5 years, and that's the same time I lived in Kane, and then I stopped working and stayed home and raised 2 kids for about 12, 14 years, then went back to work there and in the middle school office.
Okay.
11 years there, and then back to the superintendent's office.
So who are all the superintendents that you worked with?
Oh dear. Paul Miller, Vern Johnson, Rick Fritz, Sandy Klepecki.
That's a good...
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was one more when I retired.
What year did you retire?
2013.
And what did you do next?
Took a couple days off and then ran for school board and been on school board ever since.
Okay, so since you've been retired from the school district, you've been on school board, and you also volunteer here.
At Wildcat Park, yes.
What is your volunteer position at Wildcat?
Right now I'm the secretary of the organization, but also I take care of all the membership drive and the reservations for all the pavilions and all the events, work on all the events with the rest of the board members.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. That's such a great story to hear. And how about you, Craig? Where did you grow up, and what year did you graduate high school?
Well, I grew up in Kane. I was born in Warren, but I was basically born and raised in Kane my whole life. I grew up out on Greendale Road. I went to the old Chestnut Street Elementary School. Now I live down there on Park Avenue. So.
And what year did you graduate from Kane High School?
I graduated in 2011.
And what did you do next?
Next, I went to the Lutheran home and I did maintenance there for a few years. And then I found my position now down there at Abraxas. I've been there for a while now. And
so that's what you do now, is you work at Abraxas?
I work at Abraxas, and that's a youth treatment facility.
Awesome. Okay, and how did you get connected? You know, you were born and raised in Kane. You worked at the Lutheran home in Abraxas. How did you get connected to Wildcat Park?
We actually bring kids here for work for volunteer hours, this and that, and they do a lot of community service down here.
So that's kind of was your introduction to your adult life at Wildcat Park?
Yes, and then Doug Safino, his son, works there, and that's how I kind of got into the park.
And what do you do at Wildcat? What's your role?
Now I'm the president of Wildcat. I do a little bit of everything. I could say we as a board, we really work together and do stuff together, and the community also has been really pulling together to get stuff done.
So as president, it's a volunteer position.
Yes.
What are some of the responsibilities that you do and live out here?
I oversee some of the events. I make sure the operations are going well. If there's any issues, they come to me, stuff like that.
Okay. That sounds like a big volunteer job. We're glad that you're doing it.
Yeah.
Could you, we would love to hear stories of history. So would you mind sharing the story of how Wildcat Park started?
Yeah, if you look this way, most of it is developed. It was originally 6.16 acres. It was acquired by the Ludlow Athletic Association in 1922. Then in George W. Olmsted, he increased the acres to 57.62 acres, and then he deeded it to the Ludlow Community Association, which is also known as Wildcat Park, in 1928. So now we are just about 64 acre recreational area. So it's a pretty big area.
Yeah, so you started with about 6 to 64 now.
Yeah.
It is such a gorgeous area, and today really is the perfect day to
beautiful.
be out here.
It really is beautiful.
Also, there's when we looked over this way, there's a big flat area that you guys were sharing some stories about earlier.
Right after, it used to be the big flat area, which now is parking. It used to be a bunch of tennis courts. And then right after World War II, they had switched it to ice skating rinks.
Oh, geez.
And right past that flat area, there is Stone Pavilion, which has a fireplace in it, a kitchenette in it, and people would ice skate, and then they'd go in there for hot chocolate, coffee, stuff like that, and sit by the fireplace and enjoy that area.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a beautiful pavilion over there, and the scenery is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And we also had Ludlow Days, right? Ludlow Days have been a thing, and I know that you were around for round 1 of Ludlow Days. So could you share some of the stories about that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Ludlow Days probably started in the late 60s, but I'm not sure of that. I know it was going on big time in 1971 because that was our centennial in Ludlow. And we had a lot of women who really worked hard toward everything that went on in the park. They had the Wildcat Park Auxiliary and big fireworks displays. There were bands, there were just everything under the sun going on, different organizations. And then just because I think change in culture and that, Ludlow Days kind of dwindled off. But starting this past few months ago, Pauline Bauer from Bob's Trading Post and a very good committee that she has got Ludlow Days started again, and she ran it for 2 days in July and has plans for doing the same this coming summer, 2020, because 2021 will be our 150th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And that's why she wanted to get it going before that, getting it established. I know she already has, I think, 3 bands lined up and lots of plans. We had a beautiful weekend this year. We're hoping for that same weather.
And it's a great way to spend time outside here. And there's always been things that have gone on here, different types of picnics and events.
Yes.
And you said that you to help take reservations for the pavilions. What are the different types of ways people use this park?
Well, of course, we have weddings. Some years lots and some years not so lots. We have family reunions, which unfortunately are dwindling because families don't do reunions as much. We had one that canceled this year that had been coming for over 40 years.
Oh, wow.
But people are spread out all over the United States and the world, and they just can't get together like they did. We also have, we had a baby shower this past weekend. We have a lot of organizations. The Allegheny National Forest has things here, sometimes Interstate Amosite, the Alcoholics Anonymous have picnics here. It's just a big array, a lot of graduation parties in June.
It's really a park for everyone. That's awesome. And you have really enjoyed this park for a long time. What are some of the stories and personal memories that you have that you'd want to share about Wildcat Park?
My first memory of the park are the baseball games that went on, and we had a huge grandstand. And I remember we walked up, we didn't have a car, we walked through the woods in the bridle path, And 7th inning, I was allowed to have one Nesbitt orange pop. And I still remember that. And I met the Nesbitt family out in Colorado at a reunion we had out there. And then also,
what was the name of the baseball team?
Ludlow Wildcats.
Ludlow Wildcats.
And I know you can, are wondering why the Wildcats. All we know is we think there were Wildcats here. We don't know anything is written down or anything. But the Ludlow Wildcats were a good team. I think they fed some to some minor baseball teams.
Oh, wow.
But then my other main memory is that when they revamped the fireplace at the DeForest Pavilion several years ago, my dad did all the stonework here and on the pavilion and that. And they found that up inside the chimney, or whatever you would call it, the firebox, he had chiseled his name, and it said Ole Olson in the box, which was very special to us. He probably thought nobody would ever in a million years see it, but they did see it.
Oh, and that you got to know about it is really cool.
Yes. But we enjoy, our biggest festival of the year is Fall Fest, which is coming up on October 5th. And the Stone Pavilion will be filled with refreshments and raffles and 50/50s and a bake sale, and all the other 3 pavilions will be filled with crafters.
How cool.
And some outside crafters too. So we're praying for weather just like today.
Yeah.
And the only way, this is not something we mentioned earlier, but the only way we make money or provide for the park to be open is through reservations, memberships, donations, and our events. We get no funding.
So it's really community supported.
Yes, and this year, of course, the Rotary took us on as their partner.
Yeah, the Cane Rotary.
And that was wonderful because we did a project last year that cost us a lot more than we thought it would.
Yeah.
So this Rotary thing really helped us out. But
it's so great to see the community come together to support something as beautiful and as historic as this.
Yes, Cane Rotary always has their steak fry here every year. And Cane is very good to us. They helped with the Cane Days or whatever it was called, Care for Cane.
Oh, right.
They came down, they sent workers. Like I said, Rotary's been good to us.
Yeah.
And we appreciate being included in the 100 Days of Cane.
Yeah, well, you were requested, so we appreciate you taking time to share. And how about you? What personal stories or memories do you have of this place?
I remember coming down for Sunday school picnics. There used to be a dam here that I would play in, and so I have a lot of memories as a childhood, enjoyable.
You just reminded me as you were saying that we're standing here by the creek.
Yeah.
And you were telling me a story about the creek earlier.
Yeah, I would like to briefly talk, if you'd like to point the camera kind of in that direction. The creek used to come down alongside there and then come to where we're standing now. But if you look how much they moved it, it goes the whole way, and they completely removed the camera or the creek all the way to over here. So they actually moved the creek all the way over.
Wow, that's a huge task.
And that was, so we could have the baseball field and the baseball team.
So where the baseball fields are is where the creek was, but they moved it down to this area so the baseball field could be up there.
Yeah.
So the Ludlow Wildcats could play without being flooded.
And then I wanted Claire Ann to talk about, we just had the Conservation District do some stuff here as well.
Yeah, the McKean County Conservation District has done all this work on the creek. It's probably 4 or 5 years ago now they removed the dam, which was not supported by everyone in the area. But every time we got heavy rains, this would flood, and it would flood the pavilion over here and wash out underneath. That's why we have a lot of cracks in that floor.
Yeah, it started to do damage to the actual pavilion.
So
to where it was going to be turning into thousands of dollars. So we really had no choice.
And McKean County Conservation District did this all at their expense. It cost the Wildcat Park nothing.
How wonderful!
So they just were back now, and they did all these plantings of these beautiful trees, and they came back and put 2 signs up that explain that they tried to put it back to the original fly fishing creek that it was.
How
so
nice.
although, like I said, some people are not happy about the dam being gone, people did not swim here like we did back in the 60s and 70s. There's not the kids in Ludlow that there were.
So that's something that you used to do as a kid, was swim in this water.
It's a little chilly.
I can imagine.
But when you grew
fun.
up here, yeah. And someone else, we have to mention some other people too, that John Jubon was the manager, they used to call it, of the park for many, many years, and took care of things. The Boy Scouts used to work off dues here. It used to cost $2.50 to join the park for an adult male in Ludlow. And the Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, whatever, would work off those dues. They would work for a day, and the gentleman would pay them $2.50.
And so then they could join the park.
Yeah, then they were a member of the park.
And they were invested in it, too.
Yep, and Dan Byers was manager and took care of the park after Mr. Jubon. Then Jeannie and Scott and Jeannie were instrumental in getting the park up and really running again. And I'm not sure how many years ago that was. But then after them, it was Catherine Stewart was very active, and Doug Zaffino was president right before Craig. So there have been a lot of people through the years that have kept it going, and that's all we're trying to do. That used to get some state funding from our township supervisors, but now those funds have dried up. The township doesn't get them, so we don't get them. So, like I said, because of some people's generous donations, and that, we're able to keep the doors open.
Well, that's the thing,
gates.
And this is what I love about areas like Kane and Ludlow. This whole area here is that the resourcefulness. So even when there isn't money coming in, the people really come together and make sure that these beautiful resources like this don't go away. So
we work together as one big community.
Yeah,
that's true.
We really do.
Yeah. And it's Kane and Ludlow, but it's really the same. We're all in it together, and we all enjoy this together. So thank you guys so much for your tireless efforts and for just talking with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
No, I think just, again, thank you for including us, because we do feel part of Kane. When you go to school in Kane, you're part of Kane.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Like we say, and we can't say enough, thank you to all the support we get and all the volunteers we get. And we really do enjoy people just coming down and walking through the park.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hey, thank you guys. I'm glad that it was today that we got out here. It's such a beautiful day to be outside. And thanks for your time. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't been down here in a while, definitely come down. I know that there's been so many company picnics and church picnics and family reunions and weddings and baby showers, as was mentioned here. And so I'm sure all of you have your own memories connected to Wildcat Park. So I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the stories that you have, some of the memories that you have of coming here as a kid or even present day? Please share them in the comments below. And thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you again tomorrow for day 92.